Good evening, Sean.
Hi Dave, you okay?
I'm not too bad. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm glad that it's like a little bit sunny.
Oh man, makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like I think everyone I've spoken to, like in the last few days when the sun's been out, has been demonstrably happier than the weeks preceding that conversation.
Yeah.
Like yeah, what a difference.
And with that in mind, you decided to play a game about going underground.
Yeah, yeah, indeed, indeed. Always keeping it like on point here
Mhm.
at Pillbug. Yeah, well, I mean, when I was racking my brain about what to play, obviously it's more about that there are so many options. Like, it's not hard to find stuff to play. I thought this was quite nice. This has been in my library for a while, and I haven't quite got round to playing it. So I haven't played it, but I think that's probably a good thing with this kind of narrative game anyway.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it kind of, like, I was scrolling through my library and just thinking what to play, what to play, what to play. And I liked the tie in that has just happened with all our going live tweets and all that jazz about the fact that you brought a really soulless programming robot game last week.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I thought I'd maybe show that robots have a different side to them,
Yeah.
a more narrative, story
Hmm.
based side to them. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Does this game need an introduction? I assume it probably does.
Well, I think the best way to introduce it is to play it.
Fair.
And just like so the one thing I would say as an introduction is, well, like something I want to mention from picking this is there's going to be a lot of talking about dialogue trees and dialogue tree design.
Yeah.
Like that's what this game is, and I think there's some really interesting approaches that they took when designing this game, which is very similar to the way that we're thinking about making it home. So it's very useful.
Very useful for us. Good, good, good. There are a couple of things I want to say before we jump in. Firstly, there was a kind of advisory warning when I booted up the game that happened before this this screen that was talking about adult content.
Yeah.
So just, please be aware there may well be adult content on the stream. We don't mark our stream suitable for kids anyway.
No.
Like YouTube's quite clear about that. That you should do that. So, so that everybody knows whether or not it is kid friendly or family friendly. Our stream, we like to keep it fairly clean, but we also know that some of the games we play and some of the things we talk about might not be quite so family friendly. So just a heads up on that. And it was nice that developers.
Kick your kids out the room right now.
See, that's how family friendly we are right now, right? So Sean says.
Just give them an iPad, shove them out into the other room. They'll be fine.
Wow. Okay. So the other thing, notice this quite nice, juicy, quite simple menu screen here, is that there's a note here for streamers, YouTubers. So are we?
I think you should click on.
We're streamers, YouTubers.
That's what we're doing right now.
Okay, that's literally it. Okay, so it says I'll read most of this. It's fine. Hi, thanks for picking up Subsurface Circular. If you're reading this, for considering sharing the game with your community, that's cool. That's very cool. Thank you, Mike. I wanted to write a short request though. Could you only stream the first 3 sequences? Our game is heavily story driven, with twists and turns that we think will surprise players. We hope the choices and conversational threads that you can't see in one sitting will give your audience a reason to try the game for themselves, but we're a bit worried that their experience may be spoiled by seeing later sequences in your stream or video. So, they do say, like, if you want to stream past that point, just yell out spoilers and let your audience decide, what they want to do and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, I don't know how far we're going to get, but.
Yeah, well, this game is about 2 hours long. So I imagine that first 3 is not long.
Yeah. Okay.
So, we'll see. Yeah, but I think
we'll see. Okay.
That's a good piece of advice to stick to.
So you played this, Sean?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you're talking quite authoritatively about the game, so I thought you might have played it.
I've read a lot about it.
Okay, interesting.
And yeah,
because
I've watched Mike's GDC talk on this game.
I was gonna say because you're quite a Bithell fan, right?
No.
Okay.
Like, I've never played a Bethel game at all.
Ooh, okay.
I wouldn't say I've never played one of those games, so I can't like. I was going to mention that you are.
Okay, well, I loved Thomas Was Alone, as did most people, right? But so that I'm not particularly unique in that. But I mean, anyway, we can talk about that when we get into it a little bit. Let's start the game because this is enough of a preamble from us. New game. Ooh, okay. Developer commentary. We can unlock that after our first playthrough. So that's a nice touch that you like. Oh, sorry, music.
How do you feel about using your name as your studio?
I think when you do it this well, this music's great, by the way.
Okay.
I don't mind at all. It's kind of an interesting name as well. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Is it Bithel or Blithel?
Or Bit Hell? Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, he knows.
Bit Hell if I was him.
Yeah.
That sounds. Bit Hell Games.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
That does sound pretty rad.
We should totally. We start a studio. Bit Hell Games. So yes, these robots look like they love each other. Is that?
Yeah. I mean, you're talking over it, ruining the mood completely.
Sorry.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Immediately, like, you get a credit sequence and it says written and directed by someone. I mean, like, I know.
Yeah, it's an interesting, like with games, it's not like like with films, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, I'll shut up while you play.
But we've seen that happen before, right? With
Hi, Nacho.
we were playing God, what was it called? Last Day in June. That had a director kind of thing, didn't it?
Yeah.
So, chat, tell me if the volume's too much on the game, but I don't want to lose any of this great music, so just if it gets a bit much, do say. Okay. So I've got like a pretty limited field here. Can I move around? No. Objectives. Okay, so I'm going to click on this person. And I get a first dialogue tree. Yay, dialogue trees. I think I might move my face touch up to there. Hopefully that won't get in the way. But just so you can see the UI in the bottom left here.
Yeah.
Which includes like these kind of links. I'm guessing that's the train journey we're on, the route. From the station, and we got the next station, the focus points, objective, and so on and so forth. So, I'm just going to say hi. Someone said hello, so I'm just going to say hi back. Well, we clicked on them, so I'm assuming we're instigating the conversation there. So it'd be weird to then say, whatever. So we're the blue guy? Yes.
I don't know who. No.
Yes, we're the blue guy. I feel like that moment in Tron where you're like, are you the red guy? I'm the blue guy. So, because we clicked on the yellow guy, but that camera angle, talking about directors, it could have been like, it wasn't necessarily clear it was from the blue guy's perspective.
I'm going to now keep an eye out and see if the blue guy is always on the right-hand side of the screen.
Okay, right.
So I have a feeling that the blue guy is always on the right.
Right. Are you a detective? Sorry, yeah. So we said hi. They said, are you a detective? A high level... Okay, not a high-level detective, but a high-level, question mark. So I'm going to say a busy one, yes. Feeling quite busy at the moment. I'm sure you are, but please hear me out. I've not seen one of you since just after I was released. I'm a mid. Basic, really, but I need your help. I need a tech like you. Okay, so we've... objective, complete, see what the stranger wants. Okay, so like we've got this. I think we're done here, which seems to be basically our constant get out of like I'm done talking to you. And then we get the classic jerk response, or kind of nice response. All right.
Yeah.
And I refuse to play another game where we let house decide our choices.
Right,
all right.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna. So we've had this conversation a little bit. I posted a little bit on the Making It Home Steam page about dialogue trees, branching dialogue, and that kind of response approach to responses that are like, here's a jerk route, here's a normal route, and here's a kind of, get out of jail kind of, this kind of trifecta.
Yeah.
Right? And it's something that I think, hearkening just briefly back to another game that's probably going to come up a couple of times that we played on the stream, Disco Elysium, that I think is one of the really good game that gets away from that trifecta of like, if you choose to be a douchebag on Disco Elysium, like it's not just about choosing that one option every time. Like it is, like every one of your options are awful, and it's like which most awful one do you want, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like the best of 3 bad decisions.
Yeah, which is very different to this idea of like, because the thing is like a bit like what we were saying with the house mode. Once you get locked into this, like, it then feels quite weird for you as a person and as a character within the game to then suddenly turn on like the nice option. So you feel locked into a stream of decisions that therefore doesn't feel like any decisions anymore.
It's almost, I know like some people, they kind of revert to their min-maxing. So as soon as they see like, okay, you've got Paragon points or Renegade points, and it's like, you then go to the point of, I'm always going to be the Renegade, and I can't, if I can't do anything nice because that'll go against my Renegade points, and then because I want to level up my Renegade points, so I've got Lightning Force powers or whatever. So yeah. So what are you? So you're going to go with the what's House's dude? I can't remember. Like, no,
I'm not gonna. I'm just not gonna entertain that. Yeah, I'm just gonna.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna be Dave, the potentially blue robot.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say
it's blue as well. I think it is blue.
Yeah, I'm the blue guy. That's a nice small affordance there. Mids are pretty clever. I'm sure you don't need my help. Your indicator says fabricator. Wide management put that much smart. God, sorry. Wide management put that much smart in a manufacturing tech. Cool. Keeps going. I'm an overseer. It means I have to tour management around. Human tech relations requires at least a mid. Sentence structuring. Full vocal input. People like to talk to a tech who knows when to laugh at a joke.
Can I just ask a question?
Yep.
Okay. Did that scroll automatically?
Yep.
So because we've been like reading speed. So how that's but you can scroll up.
You can scroll up, yeah.
So one thing I've noticed immediately on the is that this is the Disco Elysium. Like, this was before Disco Elysium, but it looks like a Twitter feed, right? The way the dialogue is like how we are used to reading stuff, or like it's a WhatsApp feed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So, and I suppose what it does with that kind of speed thing is that it will get you to the next branching point where you've got a decision, and then you can, maybe take it a bit more at your leisure.
Yeah. Sure.
So, okay, so I'm going to choose, even if you don't understand the joke, because I'm kind of more interested in that, like that idea of, in my experience, humans don't really mind about that. The laughing is the important part. I think I have a case for you. What does a high-level detective get assigned? Documentation says that high levels are capable of learning abstract thought. Now, go on. Have you got something to say before?
I was about to say, Frozen has said it's a chill chat on the bus, and I was about to say it's definitely getting less chill.
Yeah, it definitely is getting less chill. I think maybe if this is me, I've leaned forward slightly, which is a good sign that things are about to get to business. Yeah. Now, interesting. Something that we've had a couple of conversations about in terms of branching dialogue as well is this. Look at how these two dialogue points interact, right? In my experience, humans don't really mind about that. The laughing is the important part. New box, I think I have a case for you. Like, those are just not linked at all, are they? They're not. There's no smoothing your way from the fact that we're talking about laughing and jokes and human robot interaction to boing, here's a quest.
This is like I have a meeting with someone and I'm at the point where, like, okay, let's get on to what we actually came here to talk about.
You're right. Like, it's not that people don't talk like this, but
it like you can see from a this is where there's some, like, we would definitely every meeting I'm in Frozen. I'm terrible for like going on some random tangent before. So it's like we talk about in terms of the system we're using of like gathers. Is that what this is?
Yeah, exactly.
How would you explain a gather to people who don't do branching dialogue stuff? Or like code it?
Yeah, so imagine, I guess it's basically it's a flowchart, isn't it? Like, so imagine your flowchart starts with like 10 boxes along the top. All right?
Dave, have you got the Pillbag whiteboard?
Ooh, I do. Right, give me a sec. I've got to take my headphones off to get it, but I will do that. That's a very good point. Give me a sec.
Yeah. We're getting deep into like, this is something that is impossible to like mentally visualize, I think. It's that, like, you've got to kind of see the drawing. So yes, now I have to fill. I've got to somehow fill air while Dave is kind of scratching around, rubbing stuff off a whiteboard. So how's everyone? How are people in the world?
In the world.
In the world. Thanks. He's back.
Okay. So I had to rub off some super secret Pillbug tech off the whiteboard. So let's just bring a very simple branching dialogue, visual representation in boxes. I don't know if this is going to best show things, but whatever.
Yeah.
So the thing about gather is that they tend to be the most important thing you've got to get to, right? Like, everybody loves having a chat, everybody's talking, blah, 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 but at the end of the day, you actually need your quest to actually happen, right? Like, you need your game to progress. This may or may not be too complicated. I would have used other colors and so on and so forth. Let's just, poor Subsurface Circular, we're kind of going on quite an important, a different tangent here, but here we are. So, right. I'm like in school, but a bad version of school, right?
Yeah.
Okay? With bad webcam usage.
Don't you do this for a job?
Yeah, I do, but not in front of a freaking webcam. So, imagine those top boxes right along the top row here are your intro, like, conversation points, right? And you start making choices, and you go down this flow chart, and you're having really interesting conversation, and then bam, you hit this block at the bottom, which always says, I have a case for you, right? This is, I have a case for you, right? So the risk of gathers in a branching dialogue system.
So gather is that would be a
this
gather.
Thing at the bottom here, yeah? So you can see, no matter which branching path you take, no matter how complicated that path is, from top to bottom, you're always going to get to this gather. Right? Yeah. You'll always get to this point here. And like, it's a necessary evil in these systems. Right? You have to get to the point where the yellow robot gives you a quest and says, like, I've got a case for you. Otherwise, your game doesn't progress, right? Like, and you, like, until we get fully functioning AI, right? Like, who could just constantly have a conversation with you until you say, actually, I'm going to stop you there, Mr. Yellow Robot. I think it's time, I'd like to get on with the rest of the game now.
Yeah.
Someone's going to have to kind of hard code that moment. And that's what that gather does. The challenge, I think, for writers is how do you get it so that this box here about laughing and the line "I think I have a case for you" merge a little more seamlessly than than this one particularly does. So I don't, like, the problem is that's really difficult, especially if you want these above to actually feel like a normal conversation, like a free-flowing conversation about something that has nothing to do with the case. I mean, it could be something like, off the top of my head, in my experience, humans don't really mind about that. The laughing is the important part. And you'd have to say something like, I don't know, which makes me think of something about this case. Which I think I have it. Yeah, and the problem is those look clunky as well. You have to try and stitch it back into that idea of what is it that you're talking about up here. Well, you're talking about, jokes and humans and robots interaction. So I would maybe, if I was trying to think of ways of doing this, I'd be thinking along the lines of, laughing is the important part. It's tough with humans sometimes, and on that note, I think I have a case for you, right? Like, so you're trying to kind of, but that's a lot of extra work, and the more these branching, the more branches you have, the more conversations you have, the more that work actually stacks up to a colossal amount. To try and make it feel natural, but also less like formulaic every time. Okay, I don't think we're getting past sequence 3 if we go at this rate, but but don't worry, I won't get the whiteboard out every time we got something interesting to talk about. Okay, so something about abstract thought, like high-level detective. I'm a problem solver, baby. That's what I do. Management has me investigate discrepancies, workflow errors. See, Sean, we're talking your language.
Yeah, we are. You said this was not someone's programming.
Oh, it's tough, isn't it? Which takes smarts, apparently. Well, I understand as best I'm able. They say your sort are near human. You solve crimes? Not as many as I'd like.
I knew you were going for that one. There's some consistency here.
Yeah, I am a human. I'm a consistent human being sometimes.
Frozen's made the point of how you could just at any point just be like, I'm gone. I'm done here. I'm done with you.
Yeah, I think we're done here. Yeah, like it would be kind of interesting just to pick that at some point, right? Like just be like, fuck, I'm done.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay. Are you investigating right now? I just finished a few cases. Did I pick that accidentally? Probably.
No, I don't think you did. I think that was when you didn't get a choice.
Interesting. Good. So that's good to know that they are choosing to have certain scripted lines. And like, I don't feel... I mean, okay, initially I was like, did I click that? But do I feel cheated by that?
I don't think...
I don't. No. But...
No, and also, like, something I was going to point out is that in a lot of cases, you're saying something, and then your character is saying something else as well. Like if you go up, there's a couple of places where like, you picked a choice, and then immediately said something else you didn't have choice over.
Yeah.
So I'm a problem solver. Management has me investigate, and because this is what we do is kind of dig down to these details. But it's like we've talked about this before, where like I'm a problem solver. Like the player doesn't know management has me investigating discrepancies. You're telling the player that, aren't you? You're not telling. It's
the yellow robot.
It's the equivalent of I don't know. It's like explaining the whole plan again in the movie, in the action movie, isn't it? That you're not explaining it. It's the weirdness of dialogue. But you're the person. That,
you're right. Like
what would you call it? I'm trying to grab the.
It tends to be exposition. We talk about it that way. So and at points like that just needs to be done. And sometimes the best way to do it is as quickly and efficiently as possible, and that actually we've got kind of good at accepting it when it's done in that way. But if it tips into, and it's a very fine balancing act, into too much, then we rebel against it and we're like, oh God, they're telling us this again, or wow, you know, I already know that, or geez, just get to the point, or like, really, you're stopping here in the corridor when the wibbly monster is chasing you to say all of this, stuff like that. But it can burst the suspension of disbelief bubble for sure.
Yeah, like Frozen's like put it quite nicely. Is it's like interesting to have storytelling through what is essentially your own dialogue. It's games. It's that interactivity which makes things really different, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But it can be the illusion of interactivity as well, isn't it? Like, and that's important. Like that distinction. Interesting. Like, one of the reasons we've talked about this for making it home is that because we, unlike this game, are kind of a bit. We're trying to be a bit careful of quite how much text we have on the screen at any one time.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not quite like set up as a text-based adventure in the same way that this is.
Yeah.
So one of the benefits of having I'm a problem solver and then forcing dialogue here is that the choice box can be quite small, and that's something that we've been like playing around with, right?
Yeah.
Quite a small choice box. This is not a small choice box. Like, these two here are like they're more than you and I would put in a choice box for making it home at the moment, which may or may not need to change. We'll have to see.
And you get to the other thing where like you get to the Mass Effect situation where the way they solve that problem is that the player choices aren't the full line of dialogue.
Yeah,
but that can often lead to situations like I remember in Mass Effect 2, I think. Or 1, there was like a reporter came, like you're going on the Citadel, and a reporter comes and says something to you, and you have an option, and it's like it seems almost you're just saying, "Oh, get lost." Like it seems like something very simple to just you're going to tell them to get lost, and you punch the reporter. It's like that isn't what I wanted to do. Like, and so there's that weird. Like where's the balance there?
Yeah, that can ruin that
making
sense
it so
of
the
control.
player feels like they have agency and control over the situation versus like, well, we can't fill up with words.
Yeah. Some players can't handle quite as many words as others. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I like the idea of a teacher tech melting their arm. I wonder why. I wonder why I'm choosing that one. Doesn't happen in my classroom.
Side of my arm.
So presumably the children didn't command it. So how is that possible given Asimov's laws? In my line of work, you tend to see a lot of texts find the shades of grey. A human author wrote those laws before we even existed. Shout out to Asimov there. Very nice. How much must they hate us to assume we're so eager to destroy that we need laws to hold us back? Everyone needs laws, Sean? Or are we still thinking about our job?
Like, we can't have fun without rules. That's what I will say.
Yeah, it's a laugh a minute at Pillbug, that's for sure. Everyone needs laws. Not you. You're high level. Nope, I'm geo-locked.
He can't leave the train.
I can't leave this train.
Or I suppose there's no gender there, is there? Like,
yeah.
The robot.
Yeah, the robot. You're quite right. What? So... Ooh. The seats down here are comfy. Nice touch. So, like, jokey option. I got to choose the author option, obviously. Like I said, human authors have written a lot of cautionary tales about us. I need your help. Okay, another like non sequitur branching line moment.
It does feel a bit like so. I guess here it feels like I was just thinking, this person just said that they have a case for you.
Yeah.
And then we're talking about like chemistry teachers burning their arms.
Yeah. And authors of SF texts and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, like I have a case for you. Like I think I have a case for you up here, and then we have quite a lot of dialogue. And I don't know if that's because of the choices I've made. You know, maybe I'm taking the talky route. Who knows?
Yeah.
We are going from station to station, so if I'm being timed, we're being absolutely buggered. Excuse my robotic French. But yeah, we're in real trouble if we're actually being
Dave,
timed.
the kids are playing with an iPad in the other room.
You're right. I could swear to my heart's content. Right, so I need your help. Don't mistake me for a human kid. I don't get to choose my cases. I'm assigned them by management. I'd really like to, or what is it? I bet if we choose like this one, we're gonna loop around to it anyway, right? Like we're gonna get it anyway. We can't not get the case.
I would think not.
So let's just cut out the middleman.
Yeah.
What is it? Your help? My friend is gone. Gone. I can't help. I get my cases from management. I can't. Oh, wow. Okay, so
That's
the opposite, right? Like I was expecting we have.
Well, no, because I was thinking like the robot can't make rules, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't decide. It doesn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense that the robot could decide to take this case on.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
but then these like they're making friends with each other though.
Yeah, like who's a friend? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll management is all powerful. But you have to. Tao has disappeared, and you won't help me. New objective: find out what the fabrication tech knows. New focus point: disappearances. Okay. Tao.
But you can. So okay. So if you can click on that.
Okay. Yes, I can. Who exactly disappeared?
That's giving you an extra. It's giving you an extra option. So this is okay. Well, let's go through this and then because I think focus points is a super interesting design choice in here.
Who exactly disappeared? Wait, something changed. Did you just unlock a focus point? Okay. How does he know? Tao 13, my friend. So I've got in square brackets break management directive. I'll take your case. How did you know about my core? How do you know about my core functions and the we're done here.
Yeah. That's they get away with a lot because it's robots.
Yeah. Yes. Are you trying to suggest that this conversation is supposed to be jilted?
That was Mike's words. His own words when he was talking about this game.
Fair, yeah. Well, that's not a bad thing to bear in mind, I suppose.
Oh no, it's a really good. Yeah.
I mean, we can't do it for making it home unless we're trying to suggest that ladybirds and
I mean, like we
rabbits,
can say what we want about ladybirds and rabbits talking to each other.
Yeah, I mean, can we I don't know.
Like, how many rabbits have you talked to?
Well, loads, and their conversation is super smooth. So I don't know where you're going.
My wife has a look at our ladybird. She tells me something that's anatomically wrong about it.
If anyone can draw an anatomically accurate ladybug in 16 by 16 pixels, they are welcome to try. But yeah, obviously ladybugs don't have faces for a start, so that's
what?
Well, not anthropomorphic, not human faces essentially, which is what our ladybug has. Okay. Are we breaking our management directive?
I kind of like. But do we want to try that? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's part of me that wants to experiment and see what happens when you click. I think we're done here, but clearly you want to break the management directive, don't you?
Yeah. I'll take your case. Thank you. Tell me what happened. What disappearances? Tao is gone, but it's not just Tao. Suspicious events are happening across the city, especially down here. I assumed that's why you were active. A few texts disappear every week. Started with 1 or 2, but more and more reports as time goes on.
So so those focus points, can you click on them now, or you can't click on them?
No, only when they flash.
Right, okay.
And my objectives, they're kind of bars. which is kind of interesting. When did this start? You always start at the beginning. Classic detective stuff. I don't know. It's why I started carrying a gun. All right, this escalated. I don't want to be the subject of your next investigation.
So these robots can just decide to break their own directives.
Yeah.
They carry guns around with them.
Remember, I'm a high level, so that might be why I can break directives.
Yeah, but that still seems like don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder the speed we're talking. That's kind of. Do you think that's suggestive? It's noticed we're quite slow.
Well, the speed was so what? I don't want to be a subject of your next investigation. The speed.
I don't know what that really means.
What does that mean? Does that mean? No, I don't know what that means.
No, it's kind of hard to follow that logic. Maybe because we're not robots, Sean. Dun, dun, dun. Some of us are more robots than others. A gun? Question mark. I mean, that was my first response, right? Yes, a VX5000 AP ammunition should take out anything trying to hurt me, human or tech. Okay, and then we get to go back to the other options. So that's something we don't really do very much in making it home, if at all. I think, right? Like,
no, we don't. Yeah.
Maybe in the final. Yeah, no, even in the final truck stop, it's different.
The closest we do that is the idea of you're coming back round and seeing the same characters again through a second loop. But that's the classic, design of dialogue, right? It's the way that games have always been, as long as I remember. Like, you have these options come up again, and you go through, and each time you can't click a gun again. That's disappeared.
Yeah,
right? You've already gone through that, and you'll just keep going through everything until maybe you go to, I think we're done here. But then it got to the point where when I played like Mass Effect, I would just make sure I read everything.
Yeah.
And like at some point, I was like, I was interested in the story, but then how different is that to me just reading a Mass Effect book? Like, at that point when I'm going through the whole. But it's giving me the feeling of I'm deciding what order to ask those things in.
Yeah, but is that, I mean, how satisfying is, because that's a really interesting distinction, isn't it? Like, that feeling of I've got a choice and it's going to make a big difference, like, to the conversation if I choose A, B, or C, versus, like, you get to this kind of information nexus kind of point where it's like, I get to choose A, B, and C, and the only difference is which order that I learn that information, or if I decide I don't care and choose D to get out of it. That's where, for me, I think those kind of like dead ends feel really unsatisfying. Like, I'd rather personally not have these options to go back to. Because I chose not to do them that first time round, right? Like, to me, the gun was more important. Whereas this is kind of saying, oh, don't worry, like, we're going to talk about everything else. Or give you the option to talk about everything else.
But then that is kind of simulating a conversation, right? Because that's how it would work.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't work that way.
But, well, I mean, if there's someone who, if I see one of my PhD students, I'll have in my head, I want to talk about these 5 things. Like, once I've asked about the first thing, we'll talk about that, and then I'm going to ask about the second thing.
Well, sure.
Is that not what this is trying to model?
Not well. I mean, in this specific instance, no, because the dynamic is quite substantially different. Like, I don't think either. That's not a what you're talking about with your PhD students or any student where you've got a list of things you need to talk to them about. That's not a normal conversation dynamic, is it? That's not like that's a preset plan with bullet points around a shared kind of subject or topic. And I'm also sure that if this is if your meeting's time sensitive, it's not like you would be like, bullet point 1, a gun. Talk with your PhD student. Then you look at your phone and say, or watch and say, right, that's the 10 minutes allotted to a gun talk. Now we're going to talk about sharing it with management. You would be like, it would be back and forth. It would be a free flowing conversation, more like what we've had up until this point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is like, I don't think there's any equivalent to this kind of approach in conversation, but there are, I don't know, like, it's games, isn't it? Is it books? It's much closer to a book than real conversation is, in the sense that you can now make sure you've seen all bits to this, right?
Yeah.
So let's see if it does it. It might only give me like 2 of them, right? Anything else I should know before I upload? Lots, I guess. Maybe you should hold off reporting it in. Okay, so you might be right, kid. And now we're back to these 2. So,
yeah.
Like, I get why games do this. Like, we've hit an information nexus with a bunch of dead ends at the end of it, right? So, but I really don't like it. Like, it's just, I would much rather never see these bits again. Like, why did I need to know this? Like, did I need to know this? Did I need to know the gun? Maybe I do. Maybe they're massive clues later on.
Yeah. Does it feel like Frozen saying it kind of feels like being on rails?
Yes. It does. It does, which is a weird thing to say because, of course, we're all always on rails when we do this kind of thing, right? Like, I am literally on a rail. It's not like I'm wandering around a sandbox or anything. But I think, I suppose this kind of approach heightens that feeling more than earlier moments where it felt like, well, maybe my choices were leading me to different branches, even if they weren't. Right? Like, I had that illusion. My focus points are back up. So
okay, so that's. How did you know? Did you know?
I didn't know. I mean, they definitely changed.
Because I think the focus point is how they're trying to kind of subvert that thing, or trying to get away from this problem, and which I think is quite interesting because you have an inventory of thoughts, which is kind of very similar, like. Disco Elysium kind of has that kind of idea, right? Yeah. It's a bit, but like Disco Elysium is kind of wild and weird and stuff. But this is like okay, so go for it. Like, I don't know. Are you gonna say
obviously that? I'm going to say like it seems a bit weird to then. I mean, it might be an interesting experiment to not click it.
Yeah.
But any other strange occurrences? Not that I know of. I'm just glad I met you. I think you're going to figure out this whole thing out. So now focus point.
So interestingly, as you go through all these things, that find out what the fabrication tech knows bar has been filling up. So like it's even more kind of that gamification of there are clearly 4 pieces of information.
Yes.
That then you're getting there and that's telling you.
Well, so I'm wondering if I can, like, through these focus points, game that bar without like clicking these 2. And the answer's clearly no. Yeah. So, do you know any more about the disappearances? No, I've told you everything I know. Please find my friend. So, what happens if I think we're done here now? Like this is like the point where I'm willing to try that experiment, I think.
Okay, yeah, okay. I kind of want to know too. Like, I think that's interesting.
Thank you. I'll be here if you have any more questions.
Yeah, okay. So
I can't go any further. Basically,
Can you click on down? Can you down the bottom left? Can you click on that thing at all?
Okay, gives me.
That's just the map.
The map, yeah.
Bletchley Park.
Yeah, I know. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Berners-Lee.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I see what they're doing. Yeah.
Okay. So I have to go back here.
Yeah. So you have to talk, but then presumably this is almost like tutorialization anyway, isn't it?
Sure.
So
So then we're back to these two options, right?
Yeah.
Have you shared this with management? So and personally, I get, like we talked about it, I get it, blah 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 blah. But it doesn't give me the kind of a gaming experience that I want, like from.
But then that's not necessarily what they're going for here.
What do you mean they're not going for that?
What kind of experience? Because
I was having
the experience you want.
Well, I want to feel like I'm having a conversation, like where my choices matter. Like,
but what? So this is okay, right?
And that's the baseline, right? Like, if you were, that's like all I want from a game.
But your choices shouldn't change the situation. It shouldn't, like your like that yellow robot. Something's happened to that yellow robot, right?
Yeah.
And you can't affect what's happened and what information that yellow robot has in real life, right? Like, if you went up and met someone, the way you asked your questions would just change what they reveal to you, not actually what's happening. It's not like you're making a choice of, am I going to shoot this guy or not? It's, do you see what I'm trying to say? Like, the story is the story and the mystery is there, and the game here is like trying to uncover that mystery. So your choices shouldn't necessarily can't affect that mystery.
I mean, that's a really interesting question. Can they? Should they?
Well, I would say they shouldn't affect the outcome of the mystery, because the mystery has, if you're trying to say this is a detective game, let's say, which is what this is, right? This is a detective game.
Yeah,
so you're trying to find the answer to this mystery. Yeah, which there is one answer, presumably.
Is there?
Well, I mean, they don't have to. Yeah, okay.
You know, like this is the thing. Why make a game? Okay, if you can't mess with all of the things you've just said, and if you sorry, just to finish, if you don't want to mess with all those things you've just said, make a book or a film.
Because it's. No, I'm saying the result of the mystery is the same, but the result of your investigation could change, and that's where your kind of agency would make sense to be. Whereas, like, it wouldn't make sense for like, depending on what things you do, it's a different person was the killer. Like, that wouldn't make sense. But the idea that you didn't find out, or maybe you got it wrong or something, or that might make more sense.
But then I think, okay, so I do take the point, but isn't this the perfect medium to explore that idea of objective truth anyway? Like, okay, if it's a murder, like a murder mystery, like. Yeah, okay, in books and films we have this, you know, there are examples that complicate this, but we tend to want, you know, the mystery to be the steps in order to find out who killed it, whoever it was, Tao in this example. And then for them to, like, for either us as readers or a character at different stages to kind of find that out, and then the reveal, you know, like you say, it could only be one person. Or one series, but the answer is set.
Yeah.
Isn't that more interesting from games, though, that if the answer isn't set? Like, why does the answer need to be set?
It doesn't, but I'm saying, like, that. You're right, it doesn't, but that isn't necessarily what they were aiming to do with this game. That's
sure.
Like, that's more my point, is that, yes, you could totally do that, but you don't have to do that.
No, but what? So, okay, but then I'm kind of wondering why do it in this particular way, in a sense of, like, if we're talking about how we're mirroring reality and all those kinds of things, which is, you know, risky conversation at the best of time anyway. Like, in the flow of conversation, maybe we're back to your PhD student, maybe we're not. You know, you don't have this kind of persistent, like, robotic, shall we say, like, memory. You're more of a fallible creature, right? Like, human beings are fallible. So you might forget to say.
That's exactly what Frozen said, by the way.
Okay. Yeah.
And it like, he suggested, like, creating some kind of decaying dialogue system.
Yeah. I think that's but that's like literally what happens when you choose one option out of 3 and you don't get to go back to the other 2 options. Is that those 2 options have decayed, right? Like you can't choose them again.
Yeah.
For me, and it's not a massive deal, but it does feel it does feel like something, seeing as we're going to this kind of depth, it does feel less satisfying as a player to feel like I get to go back and make the choices I didn't choose initially.
It doesn't feel like that choice matters
as much. No, it doesn't.
Like, why give you the choice in the first place of what order to do it in?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the reason is to make you feel like you have a choice.
Now, yes, the illusion.
And like a lot of people will see that as like there are some people who are going to see what you've said, but there's going to be plenty of people who don't. And that's what they expect with narrative fiction.
Yeah.
Or narrative fiction, like interactive. This is an interactive. What's it called?
Interactive
narrative something. Yeah. Like it's a very specific type of game that I don't think I've ever played one of these really.
So yeah. What was I going to say? That thing about the illusion of choice is important, obviously. Like you say, because there's a finite phase space for games, right? Like until we get like crazy AI or whatever. There is obviously we have to have that finite amount to it. But what's kind of interesting about that, what you're talking about in terms of the order. Now, if the order in which you choose these options does change what is said, right? That feels to me more like a legit conversational approach. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, as someone who's written branching narratives relatively recently, that is a colossal amount of effort, right? To do that for multiple conversations. And it's very difficult and challenging. But it's super interesting because then it feels like, especially in this context as detective kind of picking up case, let's not call them a witness, but that's kind of maybe what they're going to be with this Alpha 7. I can only imagine this because I'm not a police officer or whatever, but I can imagine the order in which you ask people questions has a colossal impact on the information you get out of them, right?
Yeah.
Right, so that's got to be a technique. I mean, like teaching, the order in which you tackle subjects changes quite drastically the response from students.
Yeah.
Now, without kind of quitting out the game and going back in and going really, really investigative about it, in a sense, like we would need to see if the order in which we've asked these questions has made a difference to the response or not.
Yeah.
And I would be interested to know that.
Yeah.
And if it does, that makes me care about the order in which I choose.
But almost it doesn't matter because you had to do that again to find out that was the case.
Yeah.
So the feeling that you've got of, my choice doesn't matter, you've already had that feeling. It doesn't matter that it makes a difference. Unless that's very clearly signposted to you somehow.
Well, yeah, but that, and I think it would be, right? Like, I think it's you would have to have it, but even if it's not like a tutorial moment that says, ooh, careful now, which one of these shall I ask first, right? Right? Okay, that would be a way of doing it. But it's also about how kind of distinct, and okay, I get Bithell kind of pointed out a little bit here about it's jilted because they're robots and, that's a nice affordance, etc., etc. But it's because these feel like little narrative, they're branches, right? They're nuggets, they're branches, they're little paths. And they are kind of distinct from one another. They are like isolated from one another. Yes, they're kind of talking broadly towards, one big theme. But if you look back at the gun bit, right? Like, I don't know, I can't get back to it, unfortunately. But that gun dialogue from Alpha 7 is just like, plonk, here's a description of the gun.
Yeah.
Right? Like that. And so that doesn't kind of That has nothing resonating with the fact that we asked about that gun before talking about sharing things with management, right?
Yeah.
And this sharing with management has nothing that says, well, yeah, I'm not going to share with management because I've got this gun now, right? Like, so...
And like, it almost doesn't make sense that the blue guy is saying, have you shared this with management, when the blue guy's been like breaking that, like, that its own guidelines or whatever.
Sure.
It broke its own rules. In some ways. I don't know. Maybe that's being too harsh and too picky.
I mean, the thing is, there's not much else to talk about this game at the moment because of that, like because of the nature of it. So we are going a bit deeper than we might do otherwise.
Well, because we're
thinking about it. Yeah,
we're designing something like this. So one thing like that I wanted to talk about, and I think now is probably a good time, is that the approach they took when they're designing these narratives was they actually took a level design approach. So they talked about the idea of, like, because you were talking about distinct paths, like they designed these like almost dungeon levels,
right? Yeah,
and so those focus points are almost like keys.
Yes,
right, that you need to get or an unlock, and you've got the objectives are just places in the map you need to get to, and they talked a lot about these branches that like don't necessarily teach you anything important, are like little bits of the level for you to explore that make the whole level feel like a real place in level design. But whether or not that really like it's how that then
maps onto a conversation,
which is kind of, but this is very much like an experimental game that they did in like 6 months or something. But yeah, do you want to move forward with this?
Yes.
Like, one more thing
the speed we're talking ...
Yeah, but the bar is like filled up.
Yeah, I'm speaking too fast. I know I do that. See now, like, sorry to keep harping on about this, right? Like, but imagine how different that question is if it's the first one I ask. Like, and I'm like, whoa, slow down, right?
Yeah.
And then this is the last one. So I'm like, am I speaking too fast? Yeah, I know I do that. Yes, slow down a little. But so I'm going to pick that one. Yes, slow down a little. But we've had the rest of the conversation, I'm guessing. Okay, I've changed that. Of course, as a tech, you can go into settings and update your reading speed at any time.
I think we're done.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Like, so that's the danger of this, right? Like, is that if you pick them in a particular order, they will make more sense, like, as a player, than if you pick them in a different order, right?
Yeah.
Where they don't work quite so well together. I wonder if this is actually telling us a little bit about the reading speed so that we can go into options and change our reading speed if we want to. I
wonder if that's... Yeah.
That's my guess too. So there are options, obviously, to play around with. So I think we're done here. We've asked the things that were required of us to ask. My stop is coming up. Good luck. I hope you find my friend. What's your name, by the way? I realised I never asked. Any preference?
I think James is a weird name for a robot.
James it is! We are James the robot. Religious background. It's a heroic name. I hope you live up to it. Goodbye, James. I hope we see each other again. Okay, so, like, that's a choice that felt like it mattered. Right?
Yeah.
That's a choice that felt like it, like, changed the way a character felt about me, changed the way I felt about my blue robot character.
Yeah.
So that's gravy. I can't go back and change my choice on name.
Yeah. Ooh. There's lots of people coming in now.
This guy's got some headphones on. Bracket. This one's Omicron 3. He's a researcher. And Pi31 is a calculator. Know which one you're going to want to talk to, Sean.
Okay.
Beep, boop, boop. So I kind of want to interrupt this guy.
Yeah.
It's a jerk thing to do. So let's do that.
I think the jerk thing to do is listen to music.
Yeah.
Like, loudly, probably. I don't want to hear you missing
Nice.
the train.
Okay. Interesting question to ask a robot. You grow up here?
Okay,
and I'll be going then. Okay, so that's our get out. That's our get out clause for this one. I'll be going then.
Can you put on the focus point straight away?
Yeah, I can. Do you want to hit that first? Let's get cut to the chase.
Yeah. Why are we asking him? Like, we're robots. We just like. Why would we be saying?
So, you know anything about these disappearances, Mr. Headphones guy? Nothing at all.
I don't think he can hear you.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I think this guy might be, might be maybe for later.
Even though he's a listener.
Yeah, touche. Yeah, listening to some sweet beats, Sean, is what. Let's talk to the researcher. They've got to be good. You look confused. Can I help? Maybe. I'm new in town. I'm lost, I think. You're a tourist. It's a big city. I work for management. I'm here to help. Or should we just leave him? Thanks. Bye. Good luck with that, buddy. I'm interested in tourism. You're a tourist? A robot tourist? Sort of. I do tend to travel a lot. I'm a researcher.
I can't wait till we tell the tourists that people are disappearing.
Yeah, do you think management want us to do that? I collate data on major cities for my employer. Okay. Are you writing a book or something? Wouldn't that be lovely? I'm privately owned. I tell you, buddy, it's not lovely writing a book. I don't think our detective would joke about things being a crime or not. Unless it, I don't know. Yeah, maybe shit. Maybe it's not. It's not a joke.
Yeah.
Shall I say no tech can be owned, or should we actually kind of go straight for the crime? Now we're into some interesting conversational water.
Yeah.
As long as I
can repeat.
Yeah, as long as I can't come back to these, I will be cheesed off if I can't come back to these.
Yeah. But then, okay, so like the role of that line is it's teaching you that that's a thing, right?
Yeah, we've learned about the world. Yeah.
Yeah, no tech can be owned. And then that's for you to, it's like, okay, yeah.
That's a crime.
Yeah.
Oh, that's only true here. Especially as a tourist. Your United Alliance was the first nation to free techs from private ownership. Of course, they freed them all to work for the state, right? Murky waters here. And I don't get to go back. Yay.
Can you click on your focus points yet?
No. Yeah.
Do they go slightly less transparent?
Yeah. They become buttons properly when I can. Humans hypocritical.
Is that sarcasm?
Sarcasm, yeah. There we go. You and the robot, Sean, you're right on the same page. I do enjoy the text they programmed with sarcasm. You've got all the information you need. Again, weird, non-sequitur. Anyway, I haven't managed to download transportation maps. How many stops is it till basic structure? We're going clockwise, right?
Oh, we can look at the map.
Oh, okay. So we're going to basic source, and we're at where are we? Finite something. Remember?
Yeah. I think so.
No, next station is finite instance. Finite instance. So I think we're at compile to finite instance, and he wants to go to basic source.
Yeah.
Shout out if you see it, sure. Oh,
it's in the bottom left.
Bottom left, thank you. Oh wow. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 9. Assuming we're on the orange line.
Well, we're on the subsurface circular, right?
Oh, yeah, we sure are. Yes, of course. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, 12 was one of the options.
Is
But we could lie.
Ooh.
We could say
Ooh.
it depends on when we want this person to get off, right?
I don't know. Well, it doesn't mean they will get off when we say that. Like, that would be interesting. Now we're talking interesting dialogue tree decisions. Like, if we chose to get this guy off the train sooner.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why we would do that, but...
I don't know.
Do you want to lie?
If I was playing a board game, that's what I do. But I don't know in this situation. Somehow it feels bad.
It feels bad to lie, doesn't it, Sean?
Yeah.
12. Is it 12? Thank you. So tell me about the other cities you've visited. Which one do you want to know about? London, San Fran, Mumbai? I'm wasting your time.
I want to find out about these suspicious disappearing people, not talk about...
You don't want to talk about London?
London.
Maybe London is the cause of the tech disappearances, Sean. Did you think about that?
Yeah, what city are we in?
A good question. No.
Did at some point did this robot say this is the first time I visited the city we're in right now?
Maybe. I don't think so. Let's find out about London. Hey, we want to know what London is doing, right? We're that interested.
This is definitely one where it's going to come back and give us the rest of the cities again, right?
Yeah. Bustling and noisy as ever. Their political situation is difficult, though. Not a good place to be poor or an outsider. The dictator runs a tight ship, though. The British are a proud people. I suspect Gisborne's time might be running out. Okay, so yeah, and then we're back to the other cities.
Yeah, but then...
So
is this robot still lost when we've told them where to get off? I suppose it is, right?
Well, they just know how many stops until the place they need to get. Does that stop you from being... I mean, maybe that's stopping you being lost. It depends if that station where they're going to is... where, not lost. That's hard to... Anyway.
Yeah.
So this feels like, do you want to know some world lore? Do you want to know some world lore, Sean?
No.
No, I'm wasting your time. Did you not say you were lost? I'm looking for the Fall Palace. You know it. New focus point, Fall Palace. It's not come up in my investigations. I think it was there once. Guard duty, or fall as in autumnal, or as in gravity. I'm interested in that question.
Yeah.
The latter. It's a dusty old building used to hold the old government before the fall, the revolution that fired off the war. Part of your research? I'm assuming robots don't have that kind of level of inflection at this sophistication.
Yeah.
No, part of my tourism. I heard it's beautiful. You experience aesthetics? Yes. Part of my programming. It's important to my work. A big perk. That's nice. Nice. That's why he wears that funky orange stuff with that kind of hat.
He knows
he's into aesthetics, yeah. Okay, find directions to the Fall Palace.
Okay. To help this person?
If you remember where the palace is, that would be incredibly useful. I do tend to get fixated on such details. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to yell at this guy, Fall Palace, and see if he notices.
Frozen is suggesting that the orange dude might be a liar.
Ooh. Why do you think that? Because he's a tourist. You have a healthy distrust of anyone who's interested in seeing the world. Or wears hats. He's the only one with a hat, Sean.
Or is orange.
Got something to hide.
That's true.
Okay, let's talk to a calculator. This guy's got to be a conversational master. Yeah, hi. Mind if I ask you some questions? Do text say yeah as a greeting now? Alright, we're not being the sassy one, are we? We're not being house. Mind if I ask you some questions? What is the square... Okay, no. I'm a little busy, detective. Big calculations due. Who you with? My name is...
Who you with?
Yeah, who you with? Who you with, son? He's got a bit of sass to his calculator voice. We're just two techs talking, champ. I want to call my calculator friend here a champ so bad. Yeah, I got to do it. It's got the champ won me over.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One of us is just a tech. The other is, I suspect, a detective. Big difference. Again, I'm really worried if we got a time limit here, because I'm faffing around. If this is about the controversy swirling around Foe and Wilson, my practices dealings with them were light at best. Whole damn industry knows there was something dodgy happening there, and we kept our nose out of it completely. If we can schedule up a chat with you, me and my legal counsel, I'm sure we can get to the bottom of any inquiry.
Here's some advice.
Yeah.
When you're talking to someone who is maybe a policeman and there's something you've done that's wrong, you don't explain it to them before they've even asked you about it, right?
I don't know, Sean. Maybe you've got more experience talking to policemen than I do, but...
only once and it didn't go well.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the fact that I was not interested in this whatsoever... before he brought it up makes for a slightly awkward kind of conversation with the police officer. Should I tell him it's not about that, or?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, we could toy with him a little bit more.
No need to get lawyers involved. What does that mean?
This isn't about Foe and Wilson. I'll let him kind of stew in the fact that he's just fessed up to something without realizing it. Thank the architects. If there's one thing we don't need, it's more controversy stirring up human misgivings towards us. That's the problem with you detectives. You wind up humans as much as you do techs. Okay, interesting. Can't go back, obviously.
But you could talk to him about the focus points now are things you could talk about that they highlighted.
Human were they? Sorry.
Yes, they were.
Okay. But, can we come back? Like I said. What did he say? What was this? You deciding you ended on?
They've definitely the reading speed has changed after you told that robot.
He was doing too quickly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I can. Should we see if this calculator knows about the Four Palace? Do you know where the Four Palace is? I feel like I'm just going to have to ask everyone. You're investigating the location of a tourist landmark? Right, are we getting ballsy, or are we going to take a gamble?
It's a detective, and this well, if you say it's to the south and they say no, then you know it's probably to the north or the east.
Oh, yeah.
But that's like taking it from 1 in 4 to 1 in 3. That's pretty.
Yeah, well, there we go. It's to the northeast. Terrible to get to by subsurface. Probably best catch a bus up top. It's right next to Airport 3. Thank you. So
now we can just go and I think give directions to the researcher, and
I'm guessing do we want to hit this calculator who's been quite useful so far with any of the others?
Maybe
suspicious events. Okay, you can only have one focus point at a time.
Yeah.
Okay. Hear anything about disappearances? You catch rumors, but the financial texts are all accounted for. Whatever's going on, things like that don't tend to come back on our sort. Arithmetic is sort of your strong point. as management intends. Night and good luck.
It'd be all of their strong points. Let's be real with this, right?
Yeah, probably. Right, let's tell this guy's strong point is tourism.
It's like when I try and find a calculator when I have Excel open.
If you remember where the palace is, that would be incredibly useful. So
then you click the focus point.
Yeah,
and then...
about the full palace.
Do you think this whole palace
Go
thing
on.
is just a way of teaching you this flow, this loop?
Could be. Yeah, could be. But we wouldn't... Would we have got there? I'm trying to work out if we could have had this conversation with this guy without getting to that point.
Probably. But it's quite a quick... It seems like quite a little quick loop of learn this, then this.
Then give it back to this guy.
Yeah, it all happens within these people on this carriage right now, because I have a feeling that, that who is around you might change.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the next station, right? So this guy says
you can ask this person the focus points.
Yes.
So that kind of unlocked. This is like that unlocking a door thing, right?
Yeah.
So that unlocked this door that now you have some more dialogue to explore.
Yes.
And that's kind of the idea.
But the question is, like, him knowing about the full palace.
Yeah.
Why does that then make it so that I can ask him about the suspicious events?
Because
he didn't suggest a trade. Like, he's not like.
No, but the researcher was worried about stuff.
Okay.
And now you've put that researcher's mind at ease, and so now they're going to talk to you about this thing.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I get that. That makes sense. That makes sense. I'm with you on that. So,
but apart from the fact it's a robot.
Well,
but then a robot that understands aesthetics.
Sure, yeah, and it's got its focuses, right?
Yeah.
So which of these three do you want me to ask? The Omicron 3.
Well, Omicron 3 is not going to know anything about the disappearance because it's new to the city.
Yeah.
Or the suspicious events, but human discontent might, maybe...
He's seen the world.
Yeah.
He knows about humans. All right. Do the humans seem unhappy to you? In my experience, unhappiness is part of all human culture. Walking around topside, it seems there are no more or less unhappy people than elsewhere. That said, I've stuck mainly to the tourist traps, so take my perspective with a large pinch of salt. That's human idiom.
There's something unsettling about the humans, don't you think?
The humans, yeah. What, that we've been homogenized into one thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, just generally like that when the more you think about that sentence. The more I think about that sentence.
Don't overthink it, Sean.
No, okay.
I know you're really siding with the robots. It's fine. Do I want to ask him some more focus points?
I would maybe think about, do we want to wrap this up soon?
Yes.
And have a chat about general, because I feel like we're kind of going into now.
We've
done a little puzzle, haven't we?
Sequence, is this sequence 2 or 3?
I think we're still in only 2.
2, yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, cool. Yeah, well, unsurprisingly, we managed to talk a lot about this, and get some kind of useful stuff to be thinking about for us. And yeah, I think it's interesting. It's like you say, it's kind of a game that we'd known quite a lot about from a design point of view, but hadn't played. So it's useful to get some hands-on experience with it. It's a game. I don't know. It seemed to get it seemed to get quite a favourable critical reception, but whether or not it I mean, how do you follow a game like Thomas Was Alone, right? That's a really it's a big challenge to face.
It's interesting. Would you say this was a? But it's interesting. Yeah, how much of a splash did it make?
I mean, I don't know. That's a really hard thing to measure, isn't it? I mean, I think. Plenty of people played it, and I'm sure it did well enough to cover, whatever. But I think it's more polarizing as a gaming experience than something like Thomas Was Alone. I think it's it's more of an experiment not an experiment. I guess like those kind of narrative games, they have their audience, they have their crowd, right? Like where you're not trying to mesh gameplay with story. The story is the game.
It was nominated for a Writers Guild Award in 2018.
Okay.
For best writing in a video game. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So
yes, I guess well received would be a.
Well, I knew, I'd seen like back in 2017, I think it was released. Like it was a game that had people talking, in the games press.
Oh yeah, because its Quarantine Circular was like a newer one. They have made another one of these.
Yeah. I wanted to go back and kind of hit the OG Circular first.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see if, like, maybe one day what they update for that second iteration, almost.
Yeah, I feel like I hope we haven't been too negative. We've not.
I don't think
so.
We've been. But it's
like,
really it's about understanding and describing the systems, and sometimes those systems are imperfect, right? Like it's just like any computer game system is like, well, it would be great if we could do this, but well, we can't. We have to work within the constraints, right?
Yeah.
And I think branching dialogue systems have a degree of constraint to them by their very nature.
I think something really useful for us is thinking about how we can designing the narrative like in this kind of almost level design way, but using it, which we kind of have, right?
We have
thought about the idea of keys and and I think that's interesting.
And it's what's really reassuring to me as someone who is writing these branching dialogues is that even though we might see them and note them for what they are and kind of see the cogs kind of working in the background to some extent, is that players don't always see those things, don't really care about those things. They're more invested in the kind of things that you want them to be invested in, which are the characters, the situation, finding the mystery, so on and so forth. And they're willing to suspend their disbelief and say, well, yeah, maybe I do have to go back and look at those questions so that I get these 3 bits of information that may or may not be useful. We're coming at it very much from a perspective, a very odd perspective that is quite detached from the regular player's perspective, so that we can kind of learn and think about it, really.
Yeah.
It's something I don't know about if you talk about with your students in terms of web design and so on and so forth, but it's something I talk a lot with my students about when we're analysing pieces of writing, is to always know that we're doing it in a way that's very different to how, a regular reader would kind of read something. But just because they're not consciously aware of what's going on doesn't mean it's not having an effect. Those small things that we've analysed, they all add up to a game effect.
Well,
right?
it's like we added in ambient sound a couple weeks ago, right, to Making a Home, and that it's so subtle, like you can barely hear it, but the second it turns off, I don't know.
This guy understands ambient sound.
Yeah, he certainly does. But yeah, so what are we doing? So what are we going to do next week? I
don't know. What are we going to do next week?
I kind of want to play the zombie game that I've been playing because I've been losing a lot.
I'm sure we can fix that, Sean. One stream session with me, and I'm sure you'll win again.
And we'll get there. Yeah, things going well with Making a Home, I think.
We are super close to beta, and we are I know we've said that probably the last couple of weeks in a row, but we are inching ever closer to a beta, and we've already got people lined up for that, and ways of getting the game to those people is well in hand. So
and
we're
if you
excited.
want to get in on that, it's like, so our patrons will get it first, and then it'll go to people on our mailing list.
So sign up
on our mailing list. pillbug.zone, and we'll send out. We've got it's nice. We've even got we got the beta keys already.
Yeah,
we've got that's how close we are.
They're burning a hole in
stuff
Sean's pocket.
Yep. We have like Steam leaderboards working. It's all kind of like coming together. I'm feeling quite real. Yeah.
Great.
Cool.
All right, Sean.
Good. It was good.
So, good chats about dialogue and and about narrative game systems. Always helpful for us and hopefully interesting for the folks at home as well. So
thanks for joining us.
Yep. Cheers, everyone, and see you next week.
Bye.